How to live like a god. No, this is not clickbait. I am being so serious. In this video, we are going to break down how to live like a god. And I'm making this video because I see so many guys struggling, stumbling through life, and they don't realize the power that they have within. Now, let me also say that we first have to get on the same page because there's different belief systems around the concept of God. Some people are atheists, some people grew up in the church, some people believe in deities, and there's levels within all of that. So the first level that we have to start on is that you are not you. You are not a man. Now, no shots to your manhood or a woman, whoever's watching this, you are not a human being, right? You are actually a bag of flesh and bone and blood and nerves that allow you to perceive things through. You are the awareness behind it all. Okay? Similar to you are not a car. You operate the car. You are within the car. You move the car. You are the physical body is a vehicle and you are moving the physical body. Okay? So the next thing that we have to do after we realize that we are not just a body, we have to go over quantum physics. No, it's not going to get too over your head, but we're going to discuss the observer effect. So in quantum physics, studies have been made countless times where they noticed, for example, they've done the slit experiment where they fired electrons through multiple slits and it created a wave when it wasn't observed. When it was observed, it created a single destination, meaning that there's multiple opportunities that are existing right now, but unless you observe it, it condenses into a single entity based off of your presence, your experience, and your observing. So maybe you've heard the question or the concept, if a tree falls in the forest and no one's around to hear it fall, did it really fall? The answer is basically no, but let's come back to that. The idea, however, is that if reality responds to you, what does that then make you, right? That's the part that I need to hit home so that you move forward from watching this with a different energy, a different presence within every single decision that you make. So again, make sure we're on the same page. Anatomically speaking, we are a bag of flesh, of bone, muscle, tissue, blood, nerves, right? And that work together so that we can move around on this plane and experience things. If God is everything, right? If we're going to talk about electrons and protons and atoms being everywhere and having a certain level of consciousness, we are made up of atoms, right? We have that same likelihood as God. So similar, a perfect example. If you go to the ocean, you see how vast it is. This is small compared to God, but look into the ocean and you see how vast it is. You, me, your parents, your friends, we are the individual drops of water in the ocean, meaning we have the same properties, not the same magnitude. Okay? So if we are energy, thoughts, and movement put in this vessel, doesn't that make us divine when we can choose to say and do what we want? When you can choose to lift yourself out of weakness, you can choose to speak purpose into silence, or we can suffer and still be serving the all, right? The choice is ours though, and that's really the divinity, right? Is that not divine to be able to have that potential power to do what you want when you want? Because we're all doing it. No one's putting a gun to your head telling you to go to work. You're choosing to. No one's telling you to be in relationships that don't serve you. You're choosing to. Or you could be choosing to live your best life, right? YOLO, right? You could be developing yourself, creating your business and everything else, having wonderful relationships if you choose to. And so I remember I used to tell people, you are where you are because that's where you want to be. You've made the choices thus far in your life that got you to where you are. But that also means you have a lot of responsibility because a lot of people live unconsciously, which is not really possible, but not intentionally, right? Living on autopilot, consuming whatever comes, and being in a reactionary state versus a creative state, right? I speak to so many people every month, and most of the guys I speak to aren't choosing what they eat. They're just going and getting whatever's quickest, right? That's not being intentional. And so the challenge, therefore, is to live with intention and treat every moment with reverence, because it's you're pushing yourself out. You're expressing yourself. You tend to express yourself. You have to press. I like to think of it like you're pressing yourself out. That is expression, right? And so you get what you are within or without. And that again is just the reminder of the true power that we really have. And so to live like a God is to live with reverence with every single choice and decision that you make, because the more decisions that you make, the more you are expressing yourself. And not to get too high level here, but we each have our own form of expression, right? I wish I had a pyramid of light to show you, but I could probably get a picture. But we are all expressions of the all, of God, right? We are all individual expressions. There's two different ways. We could look at it like a light shining through a prism, and it's that one light, but it branches out into different colors. We are different colors. That's one way to look at it. Or we can look at it like a radio frequency, where we're tuned in to a specific frequency. I might be 87.1, you might be 87.2, she might be 94.7. Different frequencies of expression, but they all exist, but we're tuned in. Like, think of it like a tethered line tapping into you. That is your frequency from the sun, from God, from the essence, for example. And so the specific things that we should really pay attention to is how we eat, what we speak onto others, onto ourselves, right? What we choose to do with our time. That's really what's going to allow us to live with reverence, live with power, and not live in a reactionary state. Therefore, meaning living like a God means you're living within the responsibility of your essence, not just for yourself, but for everyone around you, because you also impact others. You impact the experience of the all. And so the whole point of this video is to help you to return to your divinity. I'm speaking to the men here specifically. Return to your divine masculine. And I'm not saying this with like an ego, be masculine and rah. I'm saying to live intentionally, live with power. Don't live with weakness, because you can choose not to. Live with the law of life, live with nature, live with truth, because being divine masculine is not about being loud, it's about being stable, right? If you look at the yin and yang, or the different shapes that represent feminine and masculine, right? You could talk about the triangle pyramid shape up, that's the masculine, while the triangle pyramid shape down is the feminine. If you put those both to stand, the pyramid up is stable, right? And so if you want to live within that essence, it's going to take a certain level of an intentional experience, intentional being, intentional thoughts, intentional movements. And so my challenge to you is to accept that first. If the universe responds to you, choose to live with power versus weakness. Stop playing it small, because whatever you decide you can achieve. And we've seen it so many times in history. What you think of most, you get, right? So think bigger, right? Start living like your breath, your intention, your focus, your being, your you actually matters, because it does. And follow for more if you are ready to live with power, with intentionality, and as if you were put here on purpose. Until next time, let's raise the bar.